Yeah. Well, what's actually your sense on that? On to what extent do we still have that U.S. backing? Maybe I can tell you my view, and you can tell me yours, because I recently had a chance to speak with a bunch of people who are from the Heritage Foundation, or who are sort of close to the MAGA style of thinking, or the U.S. administration, and the perception that I got was that most of them wouldn't want to leave Europe entirely, but don't want to do the heavy lifting. They expect Europe to take the lead, to do the brunt of it, and they would be there to kind of help out a little bit, even though, but maybe not leave entirely. What's your view on that?
I believe that the biggest problem is I understand them because there is, it's a two-edged sword, right? So if I understand correctly, U.S. is admitting internally that they cannot be fighting two simultaneous wars in two theaters, North Atlantic and Indo-Pacific, right? So and Indo-Pacific for them is vital. That means that they have to shift over, be prepared, and do everything in order to deter or defend if that is needed over there. So that's the thinking. But when you say it publicly, right, and then when you arrange the strategy around this, right, when you start removing troops, when we're building pressure on the European allies and kind of give doubts about the credibility of the deterrence, of your commitment, sorry, and that in turn give ambiguity on deterrence. Um, the problem is that you allow Russians to expand. And then you have to ask yourself a question whether a Europe that is burning, um, and hyper focused on its in defense, maybe potentially not being able to defend itself because just of time constraints and in just a logistical problems, is in the interest of the United States. So I argue that for United States, it's better to have an ally that is able to assist the United States' interest in Indo-Pacific to fending off China and Russia alliance, rather than to don't have an ally, or to have an ally that is majorly weakened, focused on just Europe and unable to help, and that puts then United States alone against China and probably again Russia helping China out in the Indo-Pacific. So I understand that some of the people might start thinking that, well, maybe we don't need to leave Europe altogether. My argument is that, look, the best thing that your U.S. could do now is to rebuild its deterrent. To be very clear to Russians that if they invade, if they think about invading, the answer will be as tough as it would have been in 1980 in the West Berlin. We're still the same United States that that is going to do what is needed. So that is needed. What I believe that this is what we need now.
If you care about geopolitics, and I assume you do since you're listening to this, you might want to consider signing up to get my newsletter, Station Zero. Once every week or two, you'll get a free geopolitical analysis, a story, trend, or pattern of something that's really important but that most people tend to miss. Like the one where I talk about the major threat that Hungary's Prime Minister, Viktor Orban, is facing, why he's increasingly likely to be defeated in the next year's elections, why his new challenger is not at all who you would expect, and why it might be a lesson for politicians everywhere. If you want to sign up, just click the link in the description.